Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented, as always, by the great folks at Titan MRI. Joe Calorio, sponsor of the Bob Dooley Invitational. In fact, title sponsor, as is Leonardo's at Millhopper. All the same people love everything I do. There's only like 5 of them, but those people like it. And also, we're coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Meldon Law, another sponsor of the Bob Dooley. I'm a little excited because I got a lot of things to do today to pick up stuff for the tournament, and I get fired up about that. But hey, that's all the tournament talk. Well, there may be one more, because I know at some point you guys are going, man, I wish I could play in that tournament. I'm looking at your sweatshirt, and I'm looking at Spurrier's signature, and I was thinking it might be a 12 things deal that I do for this Gators Wire, where I do 12 things. It could be the 12 coolest signatures, because that one definitely qualifies. Spurrier's is definitely one of them. It's very elegant, and yeah, it's very cool. I love his signature. Anyway, we're off on tangents. Doug Johnson's going to join us today. I look forward to talking to him about not only what he saw in Anthony Richardson and, what he did in the Combine, what Anthony Richardson did in the Combine, but also being a hometown guy. I don't think any two guys had to deal with it more than those two guys did at playing that position. Maybe you could say Jackie Ekdahl. But that was a long time ago. Jackie Ekdahl had it rough because he's fallen Spurrier and local guy. So maybe that was very similar. But I don't think the world was the same back then, media-wise. So Doug will be here today. I'm pretty sure Coach is going to be back on Monday. And then we're Friday. I may get Dennis Dodd to come on, and I'll tell you why in one of our hand law starting lineup segments here. But interesting story he did, and I want to talk to him about it. Let us get, though, to the Hand Law starting lineup, which is, as always, presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. The firm is available. We joke about the UAA, we call that the firm. I can tell you the story. Maybe I'll make that the Pat Dooley Storytime today. Maybe down the road. I got a pretty good one for today. You'll laugh at it, I think. Maybe no. All right, so the Hand Law starting lineup, number 1, obviously Florida basketball yesterday fell short. It was more similar to the games they played early in the schedule, in the SEC schedule, than it was the games they've been playing lately, and that they got way down, and you're thinking it's over, and if you could change the channel, you probably did. I had to watch it because I was writing. I still would have watched it. But I don't know where this came from. And then they made a great rally, as they always did. Well, not always. Don't forget the Kansas State and West Virginia games like that. Again, that's the best conference. And they came back, and they almost had a chance. They got a shot off at the end of regulation, which I couldn't believe that they actually had a chance to win the game there. And it wasn't much of a shot, kind of a desperation shot. And then at the end of overtime, they got a decent shot off, but clanged off. Again, Myron Jones was the guy they went to. He was hot, but he had already quit being hot. But he did have that run. They're not in that overtime without Myron Jones doing what he did. But anyway, it's 16-16. You didn't think they were going far. They would have lost Alabama the next game anyway. I don't think anybody had any great aspirations about this team going far or anything. So we'll get to number 2 right now, which is NIT. Which would you be happy or unhappy if Florida got in the NIT? There's a lot of you out there that would probably say, I really don't want to watch these guys play anymore. But then you got that little taste of what they could be Riley Kugel going for 18 points a game his last 8 games, I think. So I don't know. I hope they get in to the NIT. The question is, will they? And I keep going back because you can't do the math here. The math tells you, look, there have to be 100 teams in the NCAA tournament and the NIT. That's 100 teams, right? 68 and 32. Yes, I think that adds up to 100. 100 teams. Florida is right now, and it could vary a little bit, but not much, 61st in net ranking. You would think, but they're also 16, which qualifies you to get in. And I think that there's a chance they'll get in. Brand is not supposed to matter anymore. Does it or not? I don't know. I don't think it does. But the bottom line is they are also 2-13 in quad 1 games. That's not good. So then again, if you look at that, you could say, hey, North Carolina, you can't get into the NIT because you've only got 1 quad 1 win. I think they'll get in. I really do. One of our sponsors is calling us right now, but we'll call them at the break. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I got a feeling Florida will get in. You have to look at the quad 1s. You have to look at everything, and if they said no, most people would say, well, here's why. You only won 2 games in the quad 1. You didn't beat you beat 2 good teams, maybe 3 if you want to count Missouri at home. But if they get in, don't get in. I know this. Florida put the paperwork in. If they want to invite them, great. If they don't, they can live with it. But I don't know if it would. I think it would be good, just to get more games in and at least have the brand out there again. Anyway, number 3, baseball. I want to talk about that. Obviously, Wednesday night, Caglione with the walk-off grand slam that still is rotating around the earth. There's an unbelievable shot on Twitter, if you could find it, that UF put out, and it was from the kind of like from, so it would be like down the third baseline, but it literally is his at bat, and it was an orange moon that night. It was beautiful. And so the orange moon's up there, and he hits a moon shot. And it's literally one of the coolest things. It could win some like awards. I don't know what awards video people play for, but it could win some. It's that good. Look, it's going to get interesting after this weekend. This weekend probably won't be. In fact, the best thing would be that it isn't interesting. Siena, I think, has only won a couple of games this year. Their coach is not is in bad health, and he's not going to be here. But then it gets really interesting. After this weekend with Siena, Florida plays 8 games against ranked teams in a row. That includes twice against FSU. It includes Alabama next weekend. Things about to get real down here, okay, with baseball. I think this is a great team, but I also know this team can't pitch at times. I can't say can't pitch, but they can't pitch at times. They need to get much better in that. You can't win every game 11-10. Eventually, you got to win a 4-3 game. So we'll see what happens there. Number 4, and this is why I was talking about with Dennis Stott from CBS Sports. He did this story, and he's always on top of this, and he's the guy you go to. And I think I'll try to get him on for Friday if he can do it. He may be at a tournament game, so I may not be able to get him. But college football attendance went up this year, and you go, oh, well, that's not it's a huge story. 8 years in a row, not counting the COVID year. Not counting it, 8 years in a row, attendance had gone down in Division I college football. And I was trying to talk about it to myself is pretty much what I did. I was trying to think about it, and I was like, one reason might be, I'm not saying it's the reason, but one reason may be that because there was a level of excitement at a lot of big schools because they hired new coaches. Lincoln Riley at USC, Brian Kelly at LSU, Billy Napier at Florida. Florida's attendance was off the charts. I had no problem with really one of the, I don't know what the numbers were on that, but one of the best seasons for big games and stuff like, having big crowds. Maybe that's part of the reason. It was, if it goes back down next year, it may have been a big part of the reason. We'll see, because there's not a lot of coaches that are going to, stir the drink that way. But it is good that college football attendance went up. Next week, I think I'm going to give you a little bit of another thing I saw today that was really interesting about the most watched teams in college football this past year. So I'm going to talk about that then. And finally, number 5, well, it looks like North Carolina, we mentioned earlier, that team, that looks like they will not be dancing, which is unbelievable. First team ever to be ranked number 1 in the preseason and then not make the dance. Now, they shouldn't even be in the conversation. They've got one quad 1 wins. They haven't beaten one quad 1 win. They haven't beaten anybody. They've got a good team. You watch them play and they go, but there's a lot of hero ball on that team, man. I'm telling you. Watching their game last night, and I've seen them play a lot this year, it's not a team. And I don't know why was it a team last year? Same guys. 4 of the 5 starters were back. That's why they were preseason number 1. Same guys. But for some reason, they just didn't mesh this year. I don't know. Maybe the one guy was the difference. I don't know. All right, that's going to do it for our hand-law starting lineup. We got a lot to cover the rest of the show, and we'll certainly be back with the great Doug Johnson. Look forward to talking to him. You are watching or listening to The Tailgate. The Tailgate. I did that twice. You know why? Because I've been hosting a lot of shows lately on the radio. So I say The Tailgate so many times because you have to break every. Anyway, this is not The Tailgate. This is The Tailgate's great. Please listen to it. But this is another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley's Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Yeah, I'm at another great University of Florida player, Cooper Carlisle. Cooper and I are chasing some birds around today.
You know, I went quail hunting once, and you know who I went with? Jack Youngblood. And
I
yeah, it was. We had a lot of tame quails on that hunt, and they had to throw them up in the air to shoot them.
That's typical quail hunting right now. I mean, that's the norm.
They're
it's
a
really
little lethargic.
And it's not really hunting.
No, exactly. It was weird. I think Larry Brooks was on that, and maybe I can't remember. There was a third Rams player that was also on it. All right, Doug comes to us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. We'll talk to him. One reason I wanted to have you on, Doug, is talk to you about Anthony Richardson. For one thing, you experienced what he did, and not many people have to experience, where you're a local guy, you got a lot of people in your ears, and you're the quarterback at the University of Florida, the flagship university. How hard is that, and how hard do you think it was for him?
I mean, it's definitely challenging. I mean, I think it's more challenging for the family, not necessarily the player. I mean, from my perspective, I don't think I felt any more pressure being here, because I think Gainesville athletes get lost in the opinions of Florida fans. I feel like there's this thought that the mighty University of Florida shouldn't have someone in their backyard to play and be good enough and worthy enough to play at the University of Florida. I feel that way. I mean, I think that's kind of always been the concept, that the university is just so great that our players need to be somewhere else besides Gainesville. I think that's what was always thought about the fan base. And I think that's tougher on the parent side than it is on the player side. I think as an 18-year-old, you don't really get caught up in that. But I know the family feels it, especially, you know, Monday through Friday walking around, Gainesville, Florida. You know, it's weighing heavily on how your child played following or the previous Saturday. So, but I mean, there are some challenges, because I feel like you have to live up to a higher expectation of coming from Gainesville and proving yourself that, hey, especially then when I was playing, I think University of Florida is a different animal now. I mean, let's just be real. Let's just talk about it. It's not what it was. I mean, when I was getting recruited as a senior in 1995, University of Florida was on the way to Nebraska to play for on the way to Tempe to play Nebraska for a national championship. So that's not where we are now. So I definitely think what I experienced was a whole lot different than what Anthony Richardson was experiencing coming to the University of Florida. Yeah,
I mean, he was kind of like everybody was in love with him until he had a bad game, and as soon as he had one bad game, well, he's got to do better. And then it was just like this roller coaster. But you watched him play; it felt like a roller coaster, and you spent a lot of time in the NFL, and you know what an NFL quarterback looks like. So when you see the things that happen in the combine, and people are even talking about him being the first pick, I mean, what goes through your mind?
Well, you know, if we're talking comparing experiences, I mean, I'm coming in replacing a Heisman Trophy winner I mean, that's
a little different.
Totally different. Totally different. He came in to replace no one, right? I mean, the job was, how many times the place, wanted him to play. Like he's not coming in replacing some big time player or a big time program. I mean, it's a rebuilding program. So here's my opinion. I think the day and age now of the NFL and even college, I think you've got a lot of people that are making decisions on personnel, and all they're worrying about is measurables. And no one has the courage to go out and say, listen, I don't care about measurables. Can the guy play or not? What's his history? Did he win in high school? Did he ever show himself in high school of leading others that may not be as talented, but he found a way to be a winner? To me, that there's a lot of value in that. I just feel like that trying to measure a kid can he play at the next level by arm strength and what he runs a 40 in. What does he have any dog in him? Does he have those measurables where you can't really measure, right? Can he go out and get it done with a team that may be not as talented and he be the difference? You correct me if I'm wrong. Did he ever show up and be a difference maker in a game?
He had his moments, but they usually lost a game. I mean, that was the fun. Well, I would say the Utah game was the one time where he did show up.
The Utah, if let me put it to you like this: if I had the stats of the Utah game as a Florida Gator, I would have probably been running Sunday morning, and probably would have been looked to been replaced the next week. So the Utah game, everybody knows if you're a Florida fan, we should have lost that game. Let's just be real. I was there. I watched it. We got very fortunate in that game. I don't think he was a difference maker. I think things just fell on the side of Florida that day, and I don't think it had anything to do with Anthony Richardson. So, anyways, I wish the kid all the best, but I don't think he should be given any shot of higher draft seeds because he ran a fast 40. I never saw it show up in the high school. I mean, what was his high school record as a junior and senior?
It wasn't good. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good. I know that.
It was awful. It was awful. Well, I didn't see anything at Florida. So, like I said, I that's just my personal opinion. I just think nowadays you've got people making personnel decisions that never played the game. They're like underwriters that want to talk about something and analyze something that they never did. And I'm just one of those that let's look at what his production, a player's production and his history on the field. And I don't care about measurables. Like Bryce Young was a winner. He took over games. He led a team back from deficiencies. I mean, that's just what you look for in a player. I don't care about the size. And I don't care about the speed, and I don't care about all that. I mean, it's great if he has that, the player has that, but if he's never shown it on the field, that's a big red flag in my book.
Yeah, I don't get why they look at Bryce Young's height and see it as a problem, but they didn't with Kyler Murray and they didn't with other guys that were under 6 feet, and who ended up being really good players. So, but
you look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees.
Drew Brees
was a phenomenal quarterback, and probably wouldn't have, if he wouldn't have done what he did at Purdue, as far as putting all these crazy stats up, I mean, he would probably never even got a look. I mean, that to me right there, it just goes back to, I think we're in a time now where measurables are more important than production.
Well, more important for the draft, but not more important for how you play. And that's in the end. I mean, I think it's a weird dynamic for Florida fans, and we've talked about the fan base here before, but because they were so angry at Anthony Richardson, but now if he goes like in the top 10, they go, "We had a top 10 draft pick, yay us!"
Well, I mean, to me, it's one of those. It's kind of a lose-lose for the Florida program, right? It's like, okay, we had a top 10 draft pick, but we were what we were his senior year. I mean, I just felt like if he was truly a top 10 draft pick, here's a great example. Michael Vick. I'm very familiar with Michael Vick, obviously. I backed him up for 3 years in Atlanta. You look at Michael Vick at Virginia Tech, Michael Vick by himself got Virginia Tech to the national championship game because he had dog in him. That's why. He was a player. He was a winner. He was a grinder. He said, I don't care who's around me. We're going to win this football game. And that's what I experienced with Michael in Atlanta. That's the type of human being he was. So I think that's a great example of, okay, you can, if he's got some measurables, if a guy's got some measurables that's proven himself and he can throw some measurables on there, okay. But if it doesn't start with what the proof is in the pudding of what a guy's done, I don't care about the measurables. It's irrelevant to me. And especially if you're coming from a program like the University of Florida, where it's not like we're, a program that has no idea how to develop a football player. I think we got some pretty good resources and coaches at University of Florida. So to me, that's a glaring red flag.
It's amazing when you think about it, Doug. During your time at Florida, I mean, obviously the Gators, your freshman year, you actually played in the national championship game, which is great. I was trying to think about the order, because did it go Werfel, then you, or you, Shoddy, Noah? You all got into the game at the very end. I can't remember the order though that you went in.
That's a good question. I want to say. I thought I was the last one to get in, but I don't know. I can't remember. It was such a great experience, and but I don't have that. I don't have the recollection.
Yeah, it might have been Danny, because Shoddy was actually the backup, right, on that team, even though he hardly ever played on the 96
Well, I don't know
team.
about that. I think I was a 2, because I know this, because when Danny was getting beat up at first Florida State round, Spurrier came up to me and said, "Get ready, you're about to go in." So
that's funny.
I think Shoddy was, Shoddy was Shoddy.
Shoddy was there to learn how to coach, right?
He was there to learn how to coach, but Shoddy wasn't the guy that Coach came up to at Florida State round 1, 96. So.
Well, it's funny though. If I was just thinking about this, if you told somebody that Anthony Richardson, or a lot of guys, had this record, the record you had as a starter, and the stat you have, top 10 in every passing category at the University of Florida, 30, I think it was 36 or 32 or 62 touchdowns, right? Passing.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. You would go, well, that's one of the greats of all time. But because you followed Danny, that's always hard. It's just like everybody who followed Tebow. It even goes back to Jackie Ekdahl, who was a local guy who followed Steve Spurrier back in 1967.
Well, at the end of the day, the 90s was a time where we either won it all or it was a failure. That's just the way it was. One of the reasons why Coach left, because he set the standard, and it became where the game wasn't fun anymore as players and coaches, because if you didn't win it all at Florida, literally, I remember my first sophomore season, 10 games, ended up top 5 in the country. That you would have thought we were dismantling the team, and a total, change needed to happen. So it was a different animal back then. Expectations set were different back then. But you're right. I mean, that's even a more of a glaring statistics. I mean, you have a guy who does have zero pressure to follow someone, has zero pressure of an organization or a college that hadn't been real good in a while. So any kind of positive showing would even be probably tenfold that, right? Where back in the 90s, a positive showing was expectations. It was kind of watered down. So even on that fact, it was like, man, I'm trying to root for him. I'm trying to give him some credit, but the team got worse as the year went on. And he got worse as the year went on. So I don't know. Like I said, I hope him all the best. I'm always I'm always a fan of Gainesville athletes, Gainesville players going on, doing well, showing well. But for someone to get thrown up in the top of a draft status because of his vert as a quarterback, which is completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, can you go through a progression? Can you break a huddle and understand reads? Can you understand protections and understand when to change a mic call? Can you make an accurate throw and throw, catch, and run balls? That's what needs to be measured. Can you suck it up and be able to dig deep when you're down and be the guy that's like, I'm going to lead us back? Because I played with some guys that could do that. I've the guys that had all the measurables. Like I keep going back to Michael Vick. He ran faster than everybody. Arm strength was off the chart. Was an undersized guy, but here's the number one measurable of a guy like that. He had that. I'm going to reach down and I'm going to be the difference maker, and I'm going to use those measurables to be the difference maker. Right now, I've never seen Anthony Richardson be a difference maker. All I'm looking at is what he runs a 40 in. So time will tell.
You talk about having that dog in you. We maybe shouldn't mention Michael Vick and dogs together, but you're right about he did have, and we talked about that a lot on the radio, Jeff Cardozo and myself, about Kyle Trask had that in him. Even though he's the nicest guy in the world. Danny, nicest guy in the world, had that in him though. Yeah. Some guys do, some guys don't, and it's an interesting phenomenon. And obviously you did, and did everything you could. That 98 season is like my favorite and least favorite season at the same time because of all the incredible numbers and the connection you have with Travis McGriff, another guy who doesn't get his due sometimes. Because just a couple of weird things happen, like Tennessee and FSU, everybody looks at that and goes, down year for the Gators.
Right. Where do those teams end up? Where do those two teams end up?
That would have been the Orange Bowl and the what was the other one?
Isn't that when Tennessee won it all?
Oh, those two teams. Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you're absolutely right. They played each other in the national championship game, and you probably should have beaten them both.
Right. And who did Tennessee play in the national championship?
FSU.
There you go.
If Gerard Warren falls on that fumble in the end zone, I'm telling you, it would have been different. Yep, would have been different. But it was an amazing connection, with you and Travis, two local guys. You would have thought would have got embraced more than it did, I think.
Well, that's why I always go back. I'm just telling you, it's Gainesville, Florida has the worst participation of high school sports from a community. It's the worst. You go to any outside surrounding area, and they're all about it. It gets lost in the shuffle here in this town. And I'm about to go through it again with my son, who's going to be Buchholz and going to be behind center. But there's this notion where the Gator Nation feels like Gainesville, it's not worthy enough to have actually high school athletes to come and bless the University of Florida. It's always been there. So, but once again, I go back and say it's harder for the parents who have to live here throughout the entire experience rather than the player. The player just gets caught up into what is expected of them, and they just want to play ball, right? They're just 18-year-old kids. But it's definitely challenging for the family. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, now you're getting ready to go through it as a parent. I see you get your Bobcat hat on, so you're ready to go.
Right.
All right, we've got to play our game of yes, no, where, maybe. Of course, it comes to you, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. If you go in there and get a sandwich or anything, free fries if you mention another duly noted podcast. Number one, you were a better baseball player than a football player in your prime.
Yes. Absolutely. Love football, better baseball player.
Did you ever regret that you didn't stick? I mean, you had a great career in the NFL, but and made a lot of money doing that. But you ever regret?
I don't regret. God has a plan for everyone. I mean, I really believe that. That was my path. But I definitely baseball was easier to me but it may be the fact that playing behind center is the hardest position in professional sports. Anybody tells you otherwise is completely ignorant. So that may be one of the reasons, but baseball is an easier sport for me.
All right, number 2 on the Yes Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. The best game you ever played was in '98 against Vanderbilt when you threw for 460 and 4 touchdowns.
No. Best game probably ever played was the '99 Alabama game that we lost.
Was it 40-39, right?
Yeah, where we couldn't make an extra point, which is kind of common. It's a common denominator in some losses, overtime losses in Florida that I experienced.
I give Jeff Chandler a hard time about that every time I see him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 3 on Yes Nowhere, maybe. You have a jersey from all 5 teams you played for in the NFL.
No, I don't have a jersey from Jacksonville.
Yeah, how long were you there in Jacksonville?
Not long. Not long. When I got the opportunity to be traded to Tennessee, I was all about it.
Great stuff, Doug. Always love talking to you, but especially on this podcast. And it was great seeing you the other day over at Coach Spurrier's place for the coaches presentation that they did. But it's great seeing you, man. Be careful out there in the woods with because Cooper he could go Dick Cheney on you. You never know.
I'll be on the heads up about that.
All right, buddy. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, the great Doug Johnson joining us. And, yeah, when you do look up some of the numbers, and I was doing that today because I remember it one way and a lot of people remember it another way. They're incredible. It's incredible, the numbers he was able to put up in Spurrier's offense. All right, we got to get a break. We'll come back with more. Obviously, we got to get to all of our other stuff. Adam's Ribco to go, Gator of the Week, Leonardo's Quick Picks, Hesser and Kipke, 3 things, this, that, and the other. Ben Eige, Odell Realty games of the weekend, and Pat Dooley Storytime. You can't wait for that. We'll be right back with more on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Eige team at Odell Realty. Ben Eige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in Western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Eige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/gators. That's www.beneige.com/gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Eige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/gators or call 704-201-4264. I don't disagree with much that he said, to be honest with you. But I also kind of get the Anthony Richardson love fest that's going on. It's kind of opposite of the Tim Tebow hate fest. Tim Tebow, they looked at mechanics and stuff. They didn't look at the measurables, which is weird. But they had one team that did, and so he got drafted in the first round. And it worked out really good for him. It's probably, in a lot of ways, and I probably will get more hate mail than Doug Johnson did. I think Tim Tebow got the maximum out of his football ability in the NFL. I think that's about he had one great year where he would win games at the end but do nothing for 3.5 quarters. Just wasn't at that same level. And again, they're different players. Anthony Richardson and him, they're different players. Anyway, let us get to our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the week. And my decision there, again, this is the time of year we have a lot of choices. My decision was to go with Josh Rivera for the 9 RBI game that he had against FAU. Just unbelievable. Let me tell you what, with if Josh Rivera, I'm not saying he's in the SEC play, he's got to go at the same level, but he's got to, if he can hit a little bit, if he can just give them the power that he's shown so far and continue to play great shortstop, that's the backbone of this team in a way. I mean, everybody points to Caglione, they point to Wyatt Langford, who are great. Possibly Florida could go 1-1 in the next 2 drafts. But the bottom line is you got to be good strong up the middle. And obviously with him, they've got a great shortstop. And it's the fact that he came back for his 4th year has really made this team, I think, taking it to a different level. Now, we'll see. I'm a big skeptic. You know that if you know anything about me. I'm the guy who says, well, you got to show me. One thing that they did do was they hit a thumber the other day, and usually left-handed soft tossers give Florida's hit fits for as long as I can remember, for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds, but a lot of years, decades. But they just battered that guy, so that tells me a lot about this team. Their approach seems to be great, and Rivera's is been uncanny. So he is with 9 RBIs on Tuesday night. He is our Gator of the week, brought to you by Adam's Ribco to Go. And Adam and I are going to have lunch next week, but I will have lunch at Adam's this week. I can promise you that. Let's get to our Leonardo's at quick picks. And speaking of Leonardo's, we'll be out there. I think I'm going to head over there today, actually. Have one of those chicken pars, man, that are unbelievable. In fact, I know I'm heading over there today. I'm going to make this one very simple. We've had a little bit of a fall off on some of our contests, and I know that there were some issues with getting stuff up because it wasn't Jared's fault. It was just a weird thing with we got it solved. Let's just put it that way. So our contests have been a little off in participation. I want to see it pick up. This will make it be very easy for you. Does Florida make the NIT field, which we'll find out Sunday night? There you go. That's it. Yes or no. It's not hard to type that into a computer. Yes, no. Or you could say yes, no way, or maybe. Either way. But that is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it next week with the tournament, which I love so much. All right, it is time for us to do Hesser and Kipke's 3 things, and we always love Hesser and Kipke. It's a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Check out their 50 5-star Google reviews. Or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, we appreciate Ken and Jennifer. Number 1, Patrick Ewing got canned today. Not a stunner. They just haven't been very good. And sometimes it seems like a slam dunk hire and it just doesn't work out. We've seen a million of those through the years. Football, basketball, baseball, everything. Pat McMahon was a perfect example. Pat McMahon seemed like a great hire and did great. Got him to the College World Series final for the first time ever. But then it all went bad and didn't work out. You never know. You never know what's going to work out and what isn't. But he got fired. It feels like a million years ago that Florida was playing Georgetown in the Sweet 16. And it was like you were worried about that game, because you knew how tough they were going to play. And that was back when John Thompson Jr. was a coach. It just hasn't gone well for them for a long time since then. Maybe Florida put the hex on them. I don't know. Number 2, pretty funny this week to watch Saban versus Kelly, another round of that, because Saban, when they announced, they didn't even announce, they still haven't announced when what the SEC permanent opponents are going to be, and Alabama got Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU, I think. Whoever it was, it doesn't really matter. Whoever you get, you're going to play a tough schedule, especially if they go to 9 teams. We still don't know if this is going to happen. It was interesting last night listening to Greg Sankey on the SEC broadcast saying, "Hey, by the time we leave Destin, which will be I think in May, we'll have the schedule." And I'm like, "Okay, that's what we've been waiting for." Saban was very critical of, they're sticking it to us, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a bad schedule no matter what it is. It's going to be tough. In fact, but then Brian Kelly came out and goes, we want to play the best teams, just trying to stick it up there. I was doing this today, and I don't think we'll go over if I do this, but I was thinking this is a possible Florida schedule for next year. Possible, okay? Not even unlikely. All right, open with Miami. I don't think the Miami game will be moved. I think the UCF game will be moved. One game of those two will be moved to a later date because of if they go to the 9-game schedule. So I open with Miami, then you play Samford. You've already struggled with at home. Then at Oklahoma, at Tennessee, Ole Miss at home, South Carolina, at Kentucky, Georgia, at Auburn, LSU, at Texas, Florida State. That could be their schedule. And look, you can do a million permutations. Is that it? Permutations of that, and come up with a bunch of different schedules. But they're all going to be like that. Everybody's schedule is going to be brutal. Thank God for the 12-team playoff. That's all I can say. All right, number 3, boy, I spent a lot of time, and I don't want to talk about what's going on with the players because by the time you listen to this, all things have already happened on Friday. But it was so much fun to have that and basketball on at the same time yesterday. It was a good day to be just sitting at home, and that's what I did. I worked and sat at home, but the course looks unbelievable. It's so much fun to be over there. I know Jeff went over there this on Thursday, and look forward to what'll be a great weekend, which brings us to the Ben Eige Odell Realty games of the weekend, and we'll start with the players. The players will be on from 1 to finish Saturday and 1 to finish Sunday, both on NBC. Can't wait. The great thing about technology today, I watched the entire round of Billy Horschel Thursday because all you have to do is click on the button that has his name, and you can watch the whole thing. I mean, there's no commentary, but that's fine. I wanted to see what he was doing. It didn't go well, but it's okay. He'll be fine. I think he ended up shooting 1 over. He birdied 3 of the last 3 holes in the back 9, shot 40-33. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that because he's already probably shot another score by the time you listen to this. So that's what's going on there. UF baseball, of course, 6:30, 4 and 1 are the 3 games. 6:30 Friday, 4 Saturday, 1 Sunday against Siena. Those games are on the ESPN Plus, as is softball. Softball's got an interesting tournament at home. They play at 3:30 and 6 Friday, Saturday at 11 and 1:30, Sunday at noon. They have Mercer, Louisiana, who's got a really good team as always, and Rutgers. Louisiana's ranked in the top 25, so that's going on. Gymnastics has got a meet going on in Denton, Texas, and it's not televised anywhere that I can find, and I don't think you'd really want to watch it anyway. Let's just get ready for what the postseason's all we care about right now, right? And it's kind of there'll be a lot of gymnasts out there performing that usually aren't. Because next week it really gets cranked up. Quickly, I'll give you the conference championships. ACC Saturday at 8:30. Big Ten Sunday at 3:30. Pac-12 Saturday at 10:30. The SEC Sunday at 1 o'clock. And the Big 12 is Saturday at 6 o'clock. All right. Let me find this because I sent so many emails out today. Sometimes I send so many emails I can't find things that I really need to find, and I'm going to find it right now. So here it is. The Ben Eige Odell Realty House of the Week. It's a brand new construction, 3-bedroom house listed for $600,000. The brand new house is in Mills River, North Carolina, as close to Sierra Nevada Brewing. I haven't been to Sierra Nevada. I've been by it. It's right near the airport there, and central Asheville. To Asheville, Hendersonville, and Brevard. Asheville is one of my favorite places. I've been there once, or twice actually. I went to the Biltmore House. It's unbelievable up there. So beautiful. And all these breweries in Asheville. You would love it. Trust me. If you're listening to this show, you would love it. You've got mountain biking, apple picking, and the Biltmore all nearby. Reach out to find out what kind of revenue this house can generate at www.beneige.com/Gators. All right. Wrapping it up with, I think we got everything covered. Yeah, we got everything. I looked through all this chicken strike. Oh, we didn't do this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other, which is brought to you by Darshakow Insurance, Ironwood Golf Course, and the Ballyhoo Grill. This is when the news came out, Texas and Oklahoma were coming to the league, we were all, oh man, this is going to get really interesting quick, and we're all excited about it. That is that, all right, well, who's going to play? You know, give us a schedule, and we, of course, don't have one. And the other is, when you see it, you're not going to be happy, no matter who you are. Every team is going to be unhappy. I just told you what Florida's schedule is going to look like, potentially. And again, you can substitute Texas A&M in where Texas was. You can substitute Arkansas in where another team was. Did I even have Alabama on that? No, I didn't even have. You could substitute Alabama in for Tennessee. I mean, well, not Tennessee because that's probably going to be their permanent. But the point is, everybody's going to be unhappy. That is That is the other. Nobody's going to be happy with their schedule. This, that, and the other. Let us get to Pat Dooley's story time, and I want to tell this quick one because it's TPC week. Several years ago, my friend Chris Reimer, whose name escaped me for a minute, of course, was a head of PR at for the tournament, and they had a band they had put together, and they garage band and everything. It was okay, and they decided they were going to be the entertainment for the media party on Friday night. And it was unbelievably catered party out there on the back lawn of the unbelievable party. And then they played, and they asked me and Jimmy Roberts to play side guitars, basically. So we're playing guitars, but I don't think our amps were turned all the way up. They were up enough I could hear them, but I don't think anybody else could hear them. So the song we played, now I'm blanking on it. It's 3 chords. It's easy. It's a Marshall Tucker song. Can't You See? That's what it was. 3 chords, easy. So we played, and it was fun. It was just fun. Me and Jimmy Roberts standing there playing like that, and it was just a cool moment. The next day, Gene Fournette, who's a columnist at the Times Union, and I've got a million Gene Fournette stories, comes in to cover the Saturday round of the tournament, and he's talking to Chris Reimer and all the other guys that were back there that were in the band.